All right, welcome to the Nightcrawler podcast. I am Zach, and this is my friend Crazy Craig. And today we're going to talk about comic book movies, since they've been all the rage for what, 15, 20, 10 years now, as far as I can remember.
Since the early 2000s.
Since the early 2000s.
A young teenager.
So I got a list of comic book franchises and just regular comic book movies. We're gonna go down them, and we're gonna kind of talk about whether or not they were good or decent, what makes a good comic book movie, that kind of deal. We're gonna start with one that actually started in the early 2000s. We're gonna start with the X-Men franchise.
Yeah.
What did you think of the X-Men franchise, Craig?
I don't remember too much about the early films, and I stopped really caring when every movie that came out was just about Wolverine, because it wasn't even like X-Men movies anymore. They were all just Wolverine movies.
Well, they split them up. I mean, you got X-Men 1, X-Men 2, X-Men 3, but then you'd have the Wolverine, his own trilogy started going with Origins, and then the Wolverine, and then Logan.
Yeah, but even if you think about all the X-Men movies that had all the other characters, it's still centered around Wolverine.
You can say that about a lot of the comics, though, too, and the animated television show. And look at the cast, really. I mean, in my opinion, Hugh Jackman was the most charismatic and energetic out of the entire cast of X-Men.
I feel like they really did. They didn't do Cyclops any justice.
I feel like Cyclops never gets any justice, and especially since they cast James Marsden as Cyclops.
I didn't know what that is.
If you've seen the show Westworld on HBO, or he's been in quite a few things, but he's always the word cuck or something is thrown around so much, but he's always his girlfriend's always fucking someone else, or really wants to fuck someone else, that's always his character. He's always getting fucked over like that, and that's exactly what happens with Cyclops.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really Westworld brings that to poetic levels of this is hard to watch, because he just plays a robot who gets killed every day, and then his girl gets raped. That's his thing that happens to him every single day of his life.
That sounds fantastic.
So he's got that playing. He's got that roll down to a T. But I mean, let's not just swipe Hugh Jackman under the rug here. I thought he was a fantastic Wolverine, regardless of whether or not he got too much.
Oh yeah, no one else would fit the role.
And I'd say the best X-Men movie was the last one at this point. It was Logan. I would say that was the best. It's fantastic.
I've heard really good things
about it. I won't ruin anything for you other than that. Possibly the best Star Wars, probably the best Fox superhero movie to this point. The best non-Marvel or non-DC superhero movie. I actually probably think it's better than any of the Marvel movies. Probably the best Marvel movie.
I'd have to assume that a big factor that probably plays into it is they kind of strayed away from, restricting themselves. It wasn't rated R.
It was rated R. Yeah, they followed in the Deadpool footsteps of we can make an R-rated superhero movie.
I think Deadpool was pretty good.
I never liked the Deadpool character, and I've also never liked Ryan Reynolds, the movie figure. So I actually never watched it because the Deadpool character just annoys me. Those kids with all their little Deadpool hoodies and shit, it's always been so annoying to me. I'm not impressed by breaking the fourth wall, and this just not something that impresses me.
I'm not either. The movie was literally just fun. I'm not impressed.
I'm sure it was fun.
I'm not impressed by Deadpool as a character.
Just when people came away talking about it, they would say things "Oh yeah, but he makes fun of himself. He sees Ryan Reynolds on the cover of a magazine and makes fun." That's not something that interests me. Or even the trailer for Deadpool 2 that just went around with him changing in a phone booth, and it was just kind of nauseatingly too Deadpool-y and too Ryan. I guess if you're a fan of Deadpool, then it's right up your alley there, but never liked Deadpool. So I kind of just stayed away from that movie. Heard it was good. Heard it was decent. Let's talk about the Superman movies, and not Man of Steel. The Christopher Reeves ones from back in the day. You familiar with those?
I can't say that I am. I might have seen them like when they came out, but
Well, they have like a 2 out of 4 complex going on there. The first 2 are decent, and the last 2 were terrible. 3, of course, co-stars Richard Pryor, and 4 is like it's called like the Quest for Peace. It's got like a Power Man or Atomic Man. It's known as one of the most awful movies on the face of the earth. But Superman 2 is really good. It's got General Zod as played by Terrence Stamp, and of course Gene Hackman reprising his role as Lex, and Margot Kidder will always be the best Lois Lane. That's a really magical moment.
Are we talking about like the
70s and 80s
movies? Okay, the one where he flies around the world and reverses time.
Yeah, that was the first movie.
Okay,
pretty charming movie.
I remember that.
Adapted for the screen by Mario Puzo. Actually, Mario Puzo wrote the Godfather novels, so that's interesting to see like that happen. And the first movie as well, we got Marlon Brando playing Jor-El, his father. So I mean, that's pretty good. It's if we're talking about ultimate templates for future comic book movies, I feel that we could still learn quite a bit from Richard Donner's original Superman movies. At least the charm of them, the easygoing charm that found their way into both children and adults' hearts, hasn't aged too well, but the charisma is still there. So let's just move on to Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire franchise.
I'm mixed up on those. A lot of people say that Tobey Maguire was the best Spider-Man out of all the ones that have been made so far.
Yeah, I'm impressed by this new kid, actually.
You're talking about the one from the Civil War movie?
Yeah, Civil War and Homecoming. He looks good to me.
I mean, from what I've seen of him in Civil War, it seems all right. I can't say that I loved, what was it, Andrew Garfield? Is that his name?
I don't like Andrew Garfield at all. I like him in the Social Network movie, but I think he's far too pretty to be Spider-Man, far too charming. He's far too the opposite of what I think Peter Parker should be.
I can agree with that, for sure. But as far as Tobey Maguire movies go, like, I feel like the third one should have never existed. It was so bad.
The third one's a piece of shit, and you can tell that Sam Raimi did not want to be making that Spider-Man movie. He had no interest in Venom. He had no interest in the Todd McFarlane, like, 90s era of comic books. He had no idea how to use Venom. He didn't give a shit about Venoms. That's why we got Topher Grace as a fucking weak-ass, pansy-ass Venom. And the Sandman was a terrible villain to choose as well, and I don't think built any sort of relationship with the audience. Thomas Hayden Church is a very perplexing decision.
It really felt like, with that movie, this is my take on it. It was like, the Hobgoblin was what the movie was about, and then they just were like, well, we also want to sell these 2 characters.
Well, it was about the new Goblin. He wasn't even the Hobgoblin.
They didn't even call him that, did they? But that's
that's not who he is in the comic books.
No.
When Harry actually becomes the Goblin, he's just called the New Goblin. Hobgoblin's like a fashion designer. He's like a totally different character.
Oh, you're right. I remember looking into that. Yeah, you're completely right.
I mean, it is canon in the books that his son does become a Goblin, but I think he just called himself the New Goblin, something, or just the Green Goblin again. Like he just goes crazy and rides it for a little bit. But third movie shouldn't have happened, especially it gets overwhelmingly embarrassing to watch when he originally gets the alien symbiote costume and turns into risque Tobey Maguire.
Yeah,
you've seen all those memes now, like
it's so bad,
him dancing. But I'm a huge fan of cheesy action movies, or just action movies in general, so I do still kind of like the very first Spider-Man movie, if for nothing else than seeing Willem Dafoe chew more scenery than Jack Nicholson did in Batman. Like, Willem Dafoe just lets the Green Goblin have it. He just goes to town on that role and gives it 120% so far as I'm concerned. The first one is still pretty fun for the most part.
I thought the first one was pretty good. The second one,
people are still calling one of the best superhero movies ever made, and I find it more cringy than good, to be perfectly honest.
Like, Doc Ock is...
Alfred Molina did a good job as Doc Ock, I'm not saying.
That guy just seems like a good actor in
Oh,
general.
he's just a great actor.
But
Alfred Molina's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't really have any real complaints about Doc Ock. I'm trying to
My
remember.
complaints are more about Kirsten Dunst and like every other subplot, and there were quite a few in Spider-Man 2 that didn't have to do with Doc Ock. Doc Ock was the only interesting thing to me about the movie, but they still turned it into a 2.5-hour movie with all these other, how many times do you have to watch Tobey Maguire quit being Spider-Man? Kind of just fucking nauseating.
Oh yeah, he was losing his powers, right?
Yeah, something like that. Remember, keeps throwing away his goddamn costume. But that was a failed series. Let's talk about the current Marvel Universe as a whole right now. Starting with Iron Man, going all the way up to here. To be perfectly honest, I lost interest after the first Avengers movie. Like, I followed these 5 or 6 movies or whatever to this point. I'm not signing on for another 20, personally. I'm not that easily entertained. It's like we allow this... They all follow the same formula. It was completely apparent in all of their, number 1 movies, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, even the Avengers. And we allowed that formula to happen to bring us to the Avengers moment. And then we're just easily entertained by the same exact formula over and over again. And I'm just not impressed anymore. I can't watch the same fucking movie 20 times. I can't do it.
Yeah, I hear that.
They found a formula that works, and they're applying it to other things like Star Wars, and it's just shitty. It's just fucking nauseating.
I feel like out of all the Marvel films that led up to the Avengers, the best one was easily Iron Man 1.
Easily Iron Man 1. Without a doubt, Iron Man 1.
Like, that one was so good.
Which is interesting
because it stands alone.
Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 are both terrible, so far as I'm concerned. Those are terrible.
3 was definitely bad.
3 was the worst bait and switch I've ever seen done to an audience that has made your franchise gold. We're going to give you a kind of cool sounding Mandarin and literally make him to be an overwhelmingly effeminate fake actor. And give you Guy Pearce as like American Patriot or some bullshit instead. Iron Man 1, excellent. Not only was it the creation of the formula, but it was also, really powerful performance by like Jeff Bridges and Robert Downey Jr. finally making the ultimate comeback that his career deserved. I didn't think there were too many bad ones in that first wave. We didn't really need a Hulk movie, and Edward Norton was back when he was extremely uninteresting
I've
to
seen
watch.
The Hulk movie. The first thing I saw of the Hulk was literally the Avengers.
Mark Ruffalo did a very good job as the Hulk in the Avengers.
He seemed to do a really good job.
The actual movie itself, I do remember Tim Roth was fun to watch as the Abomination. The first Captain America was fun. It was all right. Liked Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull.
Wasn't the second one better?
Everyone says it was better, but it doesn't matter. It's essentially you're watching the same kind of movie over again. It's like the same fucking movie. It's gonna hit the same beats. You're obviously gonna like it. It's gonna hit the same exact beats the other one did because that one worked. So you're obviously gonna like it.